Hello, welcome. In this lecture, we're going to discuss a very important thing under the Western logic, and that is the nature of propositions. Now, this is not the first lecture on the nature of propositions. We've already discussed the basics of it. For instance, what are the four kinds of categorical propositions that is discussed? So we have taken into perspective what is the nature of A, E, I, and O. So these are the four kinds of categorical propositions. Their nature, their quantity, their quality, all of that is understood. Along with that, we also discuss the classical traditional square of opposition. So we have taken this up. Now, in today's lecture, we're going to discuss a very important topic, that is the concept of distribution. Now, why am I linking this concept of distribution with these terms itself? Or rather, why am I, linking the topic distribution with these? Because you see, we are going to understand distribution in relation to these four categorical propositions. So that is why I was saying earlier also in the lectures that it is imperative that you have a thorough understanding of the basics of logic, because you see, with these four propositions only we started, and with these only we will end. We'll simply go on adding more to these. Like in today's lecture, we're going to discuss a new bit about distribution, right? So this is about it. Now, before we get into it, I want to discuss with you what is the definition of distribution. Why do we have to study it in the first place? You see, distribution in the field of logic basically represents the way terms in which terms can occur in a categorical proposition. So what am I saying? I'm simply saying that we're going to understand the way in which terms occur in proposition. Now, the natural question that should come to your mind is, what exactly are these terms? So this is the subject term and this is the predicate term. So what does the definition become? The definition becomes that the reason why we discuss distribution is because in logic, distribution in logic basically represents the way in which the terms, that is the subject term and the predicate term, appear or occur in the propositions. And what are the propositions again? A, E, I, and O. The four propositions. Okay. So a proposition basically distributes. What? A proposition basically distributes. It distributes a term if it refers to all the members of the class that have been represented by that term. Okay, what does it do? It distributes a term if it refers to all the members of the class represented by that term itself. Is this clear? So we are going to understand that whether there is going to be distribution in terms of subject term, or there is going to be distribution in terms of predicate term, or both, or just one, or neither. Right? Is this clear? So these are the possible combinations that we'll be studying in a detailed manner. Again, pertaining to what? Again, pertaining to these four categorical propositions. So in four such categorical propositions, that is A, E, I, and O, different terms are distributed. So in some it is going to be just the subject term, in some it is going to be just the predicate term. In some it is going to be both the subject term and the predicate term. And in some, that is the last, there is going to be neither the subject term nor the predicate term. So the reasons behind this is something that we're going to understand now. So this is a definition. If it comes in the exam, you must understand the purpose behind this distribution. The purpose is to understand the way terms are represented in a proposition, right? Now let's get to it. The first one that we have on our screens is dealing with a kind of proposition. Now, we have understood a little bit about a kind of propositions in the previous lectures that we discussed. What did we discuss? We discussed their nature, that is, we discussed their quality and quantity. So taking it from there, I can simply say that a proposition is a universal affirmative proposition. I can also say A proposition, I'm not saying A as in English A, I'm saying a proposition, okay? They are A, E, I, O. I'm discussing with you the first one right now. So A proposition is discussing with what? It is it is discussing the nature, that is, it is universal affirmative proposition. You can also use it like universal positive proposition, right? So this is A. What exactly is happening in here? Before we discuss that, I want you to have a thorough understanding of this statement. I've written all S is P. So you see, S is here the subject term and P is here the predicate term. Right now, this is going to be common for all the other three, S and P. But what we have to understand here is that which term is getting distributed. So you see, when I'm talking about all S is P, what am I saying here? I'm simply saying here that all members of the S class are also the members of the P class. That is, all members of S class are also the members of the P class. Is this clear? So, or I can also say all members of the subject class are also the members of the predicate class. Now, why am I saying this with this amount of surety? You can take any example for this. Let's take all bananas are fruits. You can take the example all men are mortal. Here, firstly, we'll understand what is a subject term. So, banana is a subject term. Men is a subject term. Okay. And what is a predicate term? The predicate term is fruits. The predicate term is mortal. Now, I'm saying here that all members of the S class are also the members of the P class. So, what does that tell us? That basically tells us that when we are discussing a proposition or the universal affirmative proposition here, every member of the subject class is also a member of the predicate